Hi everyone, Hirsch Sai here, reporting from Auckland. Hope this video finds you well. And so for this talk video today, maybe something just a little bit different. Basically what I would call, at least in my opinion for what it's worth, 10 must-see movies that you may have actually not heard of. We've all come across movies that have been, underrated or as if almost, forgotten or that have just seemed to have slipped through the cracks when, we saw them and we thought they were just incredible and really deserve, much more credit than they get. So here are 10 movies that yes, I'm that old, I've got DVDs, I still watch DVDs, even though some of these I bought a long time ago. But basically, these movies I love so much that I bought them on DVD so I could watch them again whenever I wanted. But yeah, here they are 10 must see movies that you may have never heard of. Here's one. It's called Only You, and this one stars Robert Downey Jr. as well as Marissa Tomei, and it came out in 1994. I remember I saw it in 1999 as a teenager, and it's my favorite romantic movie ever, full stop. And it's basically where a young girl from a fortune teller is given the name of her soulmate, and she takes that on board, but then she basically forgets about it. But then about 15 years later, when she's actually engaged, not only engaged, but about to be married to the so-called man of her dreams, the person who has the name that the fortune teller had given her when she was younger actually calls on the phone, and he's at the airport passing through, and she suddenly remembers it, and she's like, oh my god, I need to run and go see him, at least just have a look at him, because even though I'm already about to be married in about 10 days time, is he really the one when this other person has come up and he's got the name that the fortune teller told me is the name of my soulmate? So it's a very interesting movie. It's very funny. It's very enjoyable. It occurs in America first, but then in Europe, and the ending I thought is just absolutely beautiful. And as it says, a love story written in the stars. So that's a good one if you haven't heard of, which you might want to take a look at. Another, geez, probably because of me, another romantic movie is Simply Irresistible. And this is one actually with Sarah Michelle Gellar and also Sean Patrick Flannery. It's good to see Sarah Michelle Gellar outside of Buffy, Vampire Slayer. But this is, I thought, just an incredible romantic movie. And it was actually made on a very low budget too, and it's set in New York. And it's about mixing love with food, which I thought was original. And I'll let you never forget, I saw the movie on a Friday night in 2001 when I was a teenager. And after coming home from a school camp, which I really suffered on and arguably nearly even died on because of just how things went. And it was actually that school camp that got me into writing because I started to write memoirs on it. And those memoirs eventually became the ebook that I had published, which I've had published before on Amazon.com and many other websites, and also which is now published on my own website, besttellingauthor.com. Again, that's besttellingauthor.com is featured in the description, and it's available for free there. And the novel, it became a novel based on that experience I had on that school camp. It's called Tortured by Twigs. Tortured by Twigs, and I started writing it the very day afterwards I came back from that school camp. But I that's how I really remember. But no, I saw this movie when coming back from that school camp, and it was just yeah, it's just a movie I'll never forget, and I think it's a beautiful movie, and it's also got a very, very nice ending, and definitely one which I actually spent 5 years trying to find on DVD before I found it, and I was just so glad, to have found it when I did. And here's an interesting one too called Opal Dream, and again, it's a movie I haven't really seen in many places, but this one, when did it come out? 2006 by the looks of it. I saw it about 8 or so years after that, or maybe 8 or 9 years after that. But just about, some things have to be believed to be seen, if you like. And it's just about a young girl who has two imaginary friends, or maybe they're not so imaginary, and just how she goes looking for them and what eventually happens with them and how it affects her and her family. I just thought it was quite a nice movie, that one, an absolute gem. Uh, this one probably you probably have come across, of course, with Bruce Willis, the kid. I think one of his underrated movies. And this one, I think it was a 2001, was it? Or something. Oh, I can't actually see from here if it says to try to tell you in time before it takes too long, but I think it's late 90s or early 2000s. But like, yeah, this one is just about Bruce Willis as a very successful person, very wealthy in the movie, but he unfortunately doesn't have a wife or kids or any family, and he's just sort of trying to connect with this inner self. And then appears at one point a child, which is apparently himself as a child, and he explores that and in some ways time travels as well. And then he even meets his older self at some point. But I'm not trying to give too much of it away. But I thought it was a really good movie, and it's also a movie that is really liked by one of my close friends, and it's something that we share. And oh, look at that! Still got the sticker 'cause I bought it second hand, so I still got the sticker of Video Easy from where it was once a rental. Remember back in those days before Netflix and all the streaming platforms and all the websites where people used to, download movies and stream them from. When there were actually movies, would go each Friday night or Saturday night to the so-called video store and rent movies. Yeah, I certainly remember those days. Now, this is an absolute must-see movie, Idiocracy, which came out in 2005, featuring Luke Wilson, and I thought it was just an ingenious idea. What it shows is that in our collective society, so the movie came out in 2005 and it's set in 2005. And what it shows is that, like, in our collective society, maybe you've noticed, maybe you haven't, is that, we work as a collective, we work as a group, but obviously, not everyone really has to work to benefit. There are people who just basically cruise along and don't do anything and basically, unfortunately, feed off the backs of others. People who just say live off a benefit, or people who just don't do anything, live off family members or those close to them. And very much unlike what it used to be in primitive times, when we had no technology, when we were hunter gatherers, cavemen, and, where there were a lot of threats to everyday life, and, people really had to work to just earn the right to be alive, and where it was, if you like, natural selection and survival of the fittest, and there were predators to thin the herd. Today, not really such a thing. And what it shows, as people become more and more slack, and on top of that, even unfortunately, sometimes it's those people who actually end up reproducing the most, because it's intelligent people, especially people who are business orientated and who really plan things. They're the ones who today, unfortunately, actually reproducing less, because they're the ones who will have stable relationships, and they'll think, oh no, this is not the right time to have a child. You need to have the time for it, the money for it, the extra love and effort for it, all those things, and this is not quite the right time to have a child. So they won't have a child, or they'll only have a child when all those conditions are met, versus other people who just sort of keep popping them out, if you like, lower socioeconomic people, further down the socioeconomic ladder, who are very of a low socioeconomic status, who don't have jobs, who just go from relationship to relationship, who perhaps don't even bother with contraception, who don't plan, of course, and they just keep having children. So what's actually happening, unfortunately, is that there are people who are benefiting off the rest by not doing much, and those are the people who are reproducing more as well. So it's the opposite of basically survival of the fittest, isn't it? It's the opposite of natural selection, what nature had intended. So what's actually happening is that it's the people who are further down that socioeconomic ladder, or who are, if you like, sometimes just less intelligent, less productive, weaker. They're the ones who are reproducing more, and as a result, the human race is becoming basically weaker, dumber, especially. So what the movie shows, it fast forwards from 2005, 500 years into 2505 or 2505, and it shows what's happened to the human race and just sort of how dumb people have become, and just what the world is like. And I thought it was a really, really interesting movie and really well done. That one was also done on an incredibly low budget. But yeah, I thought it was a really good movie, and it's one that I could just watch again and again and again. Definitely see again material. Now, this movie, which is now the sixth one out of 10 in the pile, so we're making our way through it. This is a very unique movie. I've never seen absolutely anything since it or before. It's called, as you can see, What Dreams May Come, featuring the one and only Robin Williams, who unfortunately is no longer with us. But he did a superb job in this movie, and it came out in 1998. I saw it, I remember, 5 years later. And it's just about when, unfortunately, he meets the woman of his life in the movie. He has a family. Then, unfortunately, due to a certain event, his children die, and then a bit later on, he dies as well. And that obviously takes a toll on his wife, because she being the only one left in the family after him and his children die, and she very unfortunately commits suicide. And in this movie, it shows heaven and earth and things like that, and that how suicides in the movie go straight to hell. And I'm not sure if I would really agree with that completely, or if I would have chosen that rule if I was able to make the rules. But in the movie, suicides go straight to hell, and he's in heaven, but his wife has gone to hell because she committed suicide, and so he makes the way all the way to hell to actually bring her back, to find her, to bring her back if he can, if he can. And it's just an absolutely incredible movie. I'll say it again, very unique, very original, and definitely one I would recommend to anyone. So there's that one. What Dreams May Come. For those of us who want something a bit different from, say, romantic movies and spiritual movies and things like that, here's one's completely different. A horror movie, and I absolutely love horror movies. The children. This movie was had a bit of a sort of a different, or a bit of a, if you like, a one-off effect on me, or an effect that doesn't usually happen. Is that I saw it first and I didn't really like it at all, but then it just kind of sat in my mind for quite a while, and then I saw it again, and I actually loved it. Believe it or not, it happens from time to time, doesn't it? Quite rarely, but it does happen. But this one, The Children, I think it's 2006 or 2008. I just thought was, a very good horror movie, and as you can probably see with a lot of horror movies, either they're really really good or really really bad. And I thought, I certainly in my opinion, this one was really really good and very original too, which you don't always find in horror movies. You don't always find a lot of originality, but I certainly thought this one was very original. It might make you look at children differently. Probably not. I mean, it didn't do that for me, but yeah, I thought it was a very well made horror movie, and definitely, even for those who are not really into horror movies, but especially for those who are, I would highly recommend that one. Something again a bit different, moving on from, say, the romantic movies, the spiritual movies, those involving, if you like, make believe friends, whether they're really make believe or not, and of course horror movies. Something a little bit different is The Polar Express. Yes, it's a children's movie. Came out in 2004, with Tom Hanks's voice. And really, of course, there are many movies like it, especially made in 3D and all that, especially from that time and since then. But what it did to me, and I remember seeing it when going on a holiday. Actually, I saw it on a plane, going on a holiday, but it just really captured me. It really did, and it made me feel like a child again. I know that might sound a bit cliche, but it really did, and had just beautiful songs, and it had a great storyline, and it's Christmas orientated with Santa Claus and all that. A bit of, about the boy who doesn't quite believe in Santa, but then he's taken through the Polar Express on a magical journey all the way to the North Pole. And yeah, just, I would say one for all ages, and definitely one for the kids, certainly at Christmas time in the holidays. One I could watch again and again, and which I have to be honest, and even the songs I like, and I still, really like them. So that was a really good one. Like I said, it just made me feel like a kid again, and like, back in the days when Christmases used to be very, very enjoyable, they're a bit different now in adulthood, but just sort of took me back to those days. Something even different from the movies we've looked at is another genre which people don't always consider, but it's Bollywood. Certainly one that I can relate to. And this is my favorite Bollywood film of all time, Koi Mil Gaya. Basically, which means in Indian language, I found someone. And it was an incredible movie. I actually remember when it came out in the theaters. It came out in 2003, and I saw it then, and I, got the, of course, got it on, well, back then VHS tape as soon as I could, and now I've got it on DVD, and it's pretty much the Indian equivalent of E.T. You can probably see there's the alien in the middle there, but it's the Indian equivalent of E.T. But still, it's got a lot of originality to it, and it's got some, really really good songs, as well as many Bollywood films have, and songs that I could just listen to again and again. And I still do today. In fact, songs that I loved, and it's funny, yeah, great storylines, some very interesting characters, and I absolutely love it how they made it like that, the Indian version of ET, but still not, completely copying ET or making it so similar to ET. They still maintained a lot of their own originality, and it's still, that much different. If you're a fan of ET, it's definitely one to watch. With the DVD, you can get it with English subtitles. But if you love ET, definitely one to watch. Or even if you might be a bit new to Bollywood films, I think it's actually one to sort of start out with because, like a lot of or I guess unlike a lot of Bollywood films, it's not just purely romantic. Romance is definitely in there, but there's more to the film as well. And so for those who perhaps want to start exposing themselves to the world of Bollywood, but want something which is not just pure romance, that's probably a very good place to start. I would think so. Koi Mil Gaya, 2003, and featuring the famous Hrithik Roshan, a very famous Indian actor. And last but certainly not least, I thought, hey, another Bollywood movie, and this is one I will never forget. I remember it came out in 1999. I saw it in the theaters, and and the music I absolutely loved. And one of the songs from it became my favorite song for like about a year or so after that. But it's called Philby Dillo Hindustani, meaning that again the heart is Indian, and a little bit like that first movie, Koi Mil Gaya, this Bollywood movie is a bit different from many other Bollywood movies or your typical Bollywood movies. Again, romance is in it. It's actually got a very nice romantic story, and it's got songs and it's got a very very good storyline and it's got deep characters. It's a tad long. I think it's a few hours long, which some Bollywood 166 minutes, so that's okay. Well, that's almost 3 hours long. Okay, so it's a tad long, so keep that in mind. And actually, I think Koi Milgao, the other Indian movie or the other Bollywood movie, is a similar length. That's sort of what's happening these days. A lot of movies in Bollywood can actually become quite long. I remember growing up in the 90s when movies in Hollywood were only about an hour and a half, and I always thought an hour and a half, personally, I thought that was a good length for movies, not too short, not too long. Sometimes longer than that is sort of hard to keep still and keep your attention on it. And I think I actually prefer 1.5 hour films to 2 hour films, which is typically the norm in Hollywood today. But but keep that in mind. These Bollywood ones, this and the last one, are a bit long, close to 3 hours long. But I do think they're definitely worth a watch. So now coming back to this one, Philby Dil Hindustani, featuring the ever famous Shah Rukh Khan, the most famous Indian actor certainly of today, and who's been very famous in Bollywood, I think, since the early 90s. So he's certainly been there for a while, and I think he's worth even more than Tom Cruise, or the last time I read, one of the richest, most wealthiest people in all of India. But what happens in this movie is, as you might expect, with the Indian government being immensely corrupt and just whatever they do to keep power and just to keep their own wallets as fat as possible. And in the movie, what happens with the unfortunate death of a very young, innocent lady who's raped by a powerful politician, and then her body just literally just thrown away on the street. So she can't do anything about the crime of being raped. And of course, that's someone's daughter, that's someone's best friend, that's someone with a life, with a future, with dreams, aspirations, everything. you know, what happens in response in the movie when her father, can't control himself and murders a politician by shooting him in broad daylight in front of so many people, and then, of course, getting arrested, thrown in jail, and about to actually be hung for a so-called crime. Um, what happens in this movie is that Shah Rukh Khan, who plays a reporter, they basically, him and many others, actually organize a march against the Indian government, saying, "No, this is not fair. What's happened? This is not what India is. This is not who we are as Indians. We are much, much, much better than this." And they really organize a massive march against the Indian government in protest, and it's just incredible. I won't give away any more than that. It's just what they're able to achieve or try to achieve is just incredible, and the movie was really actually made to try to wake up, real politicians today, or at the time, at the very least, in India, just saying that you can't keep going the way you're going, because this is a country of over a billion people now, close to 1.4 billion people, and it's the world's largest democracy, and we need a government that we can actually rely on, a government that's going to take us forward. A government that's going to do good for us as well as other countries. That's what we need, not just corrupt bureaucrats who think they're greater than gods and act as so, but or act as so with a fully human mind, if you know what I mean, rather than having an uncorrupted, unbiased mind. So that was a very good movie as well. So yeah, there you go, 10 movies that you may have not heard about, but which I certainly believe are a must watch. So yeah, hopefully at least one or two or three of them you might end up watching, you've picked up. But yeah, so make your choice, choose some of them to watch, and hope you enjoy watching them, and all the best. Thank you.